ffe abantu n'ebisolo ffe tebaatuwaako bisolo byakulya. Katonda ebintu bye yatuwa agamba seed bearing plants, ate n'agamba simanyi every tree that has fruit byatuwa. N'akwata n'ebisolo ebirina obulamu nabyo n'abiwa ebyokulya era n'abiwa bintu bye bimu, n'abigamba every green plant for food. Saalabamu byennyanja, tetwalabamu nte, kati olusimbeerawo naye nga tetugenda mu ggulu ate ne batujajinga ente wali mwalya zaaki. Naye nga just akakuyisaawo, naye ng'ogenda okulaba nga Katonda era ne mu kutonda alina ebintu byatusongerako bye tulina okulya. So actually I'm going to speak about nutrition today. Yeah, our Musawo is going to speak about more of nutrition. Yeah. Njagala tulabe abavubuka. Actually mbadde mpuliriza audio ze and I was actually challenged and neneebuuza nengamba is it possible nti abamu tetulya newankubadde tulowooza tulya naye nga what we call feeding we actually do not feed. So I was so much challenged about how she was sharing. So njagala twogere ku kintu kye bayita nutrition ne musawo waffe era ngenda mwaniriza atubuzeeko ate abeeko byasooka okutangaaza. Ekintu actually nina point gye mpuliddemu gye njagala atandikireko n'okutangaaza. Waliwo statement gyagwire n'agamba you are what you eat. You are what you eat. Eyo statement gye njagalira ddala gy'aba atandikirako okutangaaza. Musawo Sheila nkwaniriza. Mukama akutuweera omukisa. Tuli beetegefu ng'abasingo okuwulira gy'oli. Thank you so much for having us and thank you so much for joining. Please you are so much welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Jackson. I hope I'm being heard.
Yeah, you are being heard well.
Yes. My name is Sheila Tumwesije. I've been quite around you people for the whole week. And I have been trying to stress out some topics. The first one was nutrition and the other one was mental health. I think I'll be using both Luganda and English. I hope that is okay. But you can let me know which language is
convenient. It's very okay. It is okay, Mama.
So, first and foremost, the purpose of this session, I was initially told it would be more of a Q&A, question and answer. And it was more of a Q&A where people were going to ask questions, especially those who were able to listen in into the audio and be able to understand what I was saying here and there. But throughout your communication, Brother Jackson, I've come to realize that maybe most of us were not able to hear the audio. And it would necessitate for me to at least go through some of the most important things about nutrition, which I wouldn't mind. However, I welcome questions along the way because since the other one was an audio, I wasn't able to get some feedback and also questions concerning some of the things that I talked about. Yeah. So I think before I start, Brother Jackson, if you can hear me, you can just help me clarify that. Should I?
Okay, Mama. Yeah, actually, tugenda kutambulira still era ku bibuuzo. We shall have some questions from the congregation. Yeah, naye njagadde tubeeko kyosooka okutangaaza, then as we wait for this people to raise up hands. Kyemanyi emikono gijja kujja in the midst. And actually I have also some questions I have. Yeah, naye just njagadde you first introduce it. Yeah, nutrition and actually the other statement I talked about that you are what you eat. I also have some questions, but in the meantime, we shall also have some questions from the members. Yeah. Chechu.
Okay, thank you. So to go through, nutrition is just the process of us getting food. It's a process of us getting food that is necessary for us to have a good health and also to grow. So nutrition is important at all age groups. It's not only important for us as the youth, it's also important for the young, the elderly, the adolescent, and yes, us the young adults. So each and every category should be well nourished. So when we're looking at nutrition, we know that there is good nutrition, where we can say that someone is in good nutrition status. We look at overnutrition and undernutrition. And in this, we are trying to categorize people depending on how much they supply to their bodies and what is relevant for them to grow. However, the disclaimer that I want to even begin with at the beginning, yes, I mentioned that we are what we eat. Yes, it is a notion that is out there, but there are also other factors that determine, like our physical appearance, rather than just food. So however much food plays a big role in how we would look, how we would be thinking, the physical processes that our bodies go through, and all those different things, however much they're influenced by our diet, it should also be noted that there are also other factors that can alter the same processes. So when we go into nutrition, basically, the word nutrients oba ebiriisa bye tufuna mu mmere byebyo ebituyambako okubeera nourished. So nti wendya muwogo, wendya kawunga, wendya chapati, wendya ebijanjaalo, wendya all these different kinds of foods, maliriza nfunyemu ki. So that is where we are going at. And these different kinds of food zibaako engeri ze ziyambako emibiri gyaffe either okukula oba okufunctioninga obulungi. And they are categorized that they are micro and macronutrients. Nti waliwo ebiriisa omubiri gwe byetaaga in large amounts okusobola okukola emirimu egya bulijjo. And then waliwo ebiriisa omubiri gwe byetaaga in smaller amounts okusobola okukola. But it doesn't mean that you eat small or less of them. No, it means that from what you eat, the body will pick what it needs. However, when it comes to these ones, eziri macro, however much the body needs them in large amounts, when it gets more than it needs, it starts to store up. For example, some of the foods that we shall see, the energy-giving foods. If the body gets in the amount of energy that it needs to perform its functions, depending on the kind of work that you do, depending on how you use your daily, how you consume your energy every day. If the body gets what it needs, the rest of the balance will go and be stored as fat. So you realize that the more you eat things that are giving you energy that you can't use, the more you're going to affect your outlook in terms of fat deposition. And other macronutrients like the proteins, bodybuilding foods, the fiber and the fat. Then the micronutrients, the minerals and the vitamins. Well, there are common foods that we always eat that I also emphasized and that are common to us as, of course, single people, young people, the convenient foods for us, the chapati, the chips, the sausages, the chikomando, the samosas, and also the sodas, all those things that we normally eat as young people. They are convenience foods. They are sometimes exciting foods. They are also foods that sometimes influence our emotions and you feel like you should at least take yourself out and eat maybe a huge Rolex and stuff like that. Well, those foods, the bad thing about them is that however much they are carbohydrate or energy-giving food, they have a component of being refined. That is one. Also, we are not certain of the kind of oil that these people use and everything that is involved in making these foods. So these foods, ideally, however much they may be palatable, they are good, they are convenient, the amount of energy that you're going to get from them is always high. In addition, we always get the extra, and also sometimes the kind of oil that they use sometimes are spent there some days, and you're getting other chemicals out of the food. So it is a caution to all of us as single people that however much, yes, it is affordable, available, convenient, and everything around it, if we can at least try to start working on our diet, it would help us. Because when someone purposes actually to live healthy, some people have made it a point to influence people negatively that it is expensive to live healthy, but ideally it is cheaper. Because if someone got the same money and maybe bought something that is healthy and maybe went for a full course meal, by full course, okay, in standard, I mean they went for local food rather than having maybe a combination of a Rolex and soda, or Rolex and Honor and all those things, you realize you're almost going to spend the same money, and yet someone has benefited more than you. So it is important that however much we are tending towards this direction, we should also look at the other side of things. Why am I saying all this? Is because we are realizing that we are having a higher population of young people getting some of the diseases that we thought would be of a later age in life. Why? Because of their diet. That young people are now getting hypertensive diseases. Young people are now getting diabetes. They are obese. They can't control their weight. They have eating disorders that are even throwing them into depression because they hate themselves. And yet it started with a kind of decision that someone made early in life. We realized most of these things didn't affect the people that were before us. Why? Because maybe they couldn't afford this. But now things have changed that they are now so affordable for a person who is the age of me and you. And we have made it a point to make them our daily food, and yet they are having a problem to our lives. It is also important to note that where we are looking at nutrition, because someone may be asking, why is nutrition important? You and me should come to the point of realizing that we are a vessel. We are vessels of God, vessels of honor. And we also honor God with our bodies. Amen. And not just because of any other thing that you may think about in that aspect, but also because we also want to be healthy and also want to serve God. Yes. For the time that He has given us the opportunity to serve Him. So please let us take care of that. So, of course, someone would ask, yes, good nutrition, overnutrition, undernutrition. Someone would ask, how do I know how much food I need to eat? Am I eating more than I need? Am I eating less than I need? What exactly is going on with my body? It's not balancing. I'm eating all the fats in the world, I'm not gaining weight, or I'm eating less, but I'm gaining a lot of weight. All that, before you judge with your eyes, there are ways in which we can get or calculate and see whether you are normal weight, underweight, or overweight, or obese. So that calculation is online. You can get it. It's called body mass index, and they try to find out for your appropriate height, the weight that you have. Are they really falling into the category of you being underweight, normal, or overweight, or obese? And with that is where we say that because of this calculation, which is weight in kilograms over height in meters squared, with that is where we come up and say, but you know what? You're underweight, or you're normal. However much you feel that you're tiny, you are normal. Or however much you feel that you are beyond, you are normal. Keep normal, or try to adjust your diet in this way. And these all depend on the kind of work that you do. You realize that we are shifting more into a sedentary lifestyle where we are sitting more on computers. We are doing less work here and there, moving from one place to another. We have cars, we have, life is getting simpler. God is blessing us. But in the process, we are compromising our own health. So it's important that we understand that for my category of work, I'm using less energy. Therefore, the kind of food that I'm supposed to consume should really have less of the energy-giving foods and more of maybe say the fiber to help me feel satisfied, some vitamins to help my body function very well, and also have those antioxidants in the system, and also minerals here and there. So this brings me to the point of saying a balanced diet. When I was talking about the balanced diet is when I introduced to us the fact that it is not how much you eat, but what you eat. Like, it's not how much you eat, because you may say, nze ndya katono, olunaku ndya yam, India yam, let me say, and I also take a cup of porridge, and that's enough. And someone else will say, me, I don't eat supper, at least I eat dinner, and then I just eat fruits, or I eat vegetables, or I eat less carbohydrates, and then more of the vegetables. You realize that someone who said, I eat, let me say, yam and take porridge, or someone who said they only eat a chapati and soda, they sound like they're eating less, but the energy they are generating from this food, remember, they're eating it as supper. They're not going to use it in the night. You're going to sleep. So you are generating all this energy. And by morning, you're also going to have another breakfast, which is more like the same. So all this energy that you're generating that you're not using is what is going to be stored as fat. And yet you're actually taking small amounts. And yet someone who may be taking, let me say, a bowl of vegetables or a plate of fruit or a glass of juice or a smoothie, in one way or the other, may be far better than you. So it is what you eat, not how much you eat, that will help us to define a balanced diet, because it is important. We have looked at a balanced diet all the way from primary until Ngabatugamba balanced diet, it's a diet. Whatever they used to define it in your days, but you know that it contains all the food nutrients that are necessary for you to grow, to be strong, or to function normally. So I've hinted on almost everything, but maybe some of the last points before I welcome questions. It is important to also note that weight is determined by very many things, like I had earlier said. We have other issues like genetics. We have issues like drugs, where people are on drugs for a lifetime and they're making them gain weight uncontrollably. That wouldn't really make us stand and judge and say this person is really what they eat. No. So that statement, however true it is, it also has its disclaimers. So genetics plays a role. However, the genetics, when they're in an environment where they are favored, they will go. They will be manifested phenotypically or externally. And then drugs, yes, I've mentioned drugs. Yeah, and other factors around that point, change of environment and all that. So, yeah, just another thing to talk about. Well, some of our eating habits really are the ones that are contributing to our, whether we are over nourished or undernourished, if I'm to use that statement. There are some things that we do that are really not good. Like I mentioned, that we should not eat and then sleep. Like you should not eat and then go to bed. That energy that you're generating, and also the fact that, well, at this point, let me also talk about this. I have the opportunity to talk about this. Most of the people in our age are presenting with problems around feeding. And these are heartburn, someone having abdominal discomfort, having burning sensation in the stomach, which most of us call ulcers, and that is not ulcers. But I don't use a chemical definition, but let me say it's gastritis. So some of those problems, some people feel reflux where you feel the food is coming back after eating it. So to start from, where does this come from, or how does this come about? Number one, what are you eating? The spicy foods, the foods that have very many spices, they tend to make your body produce excess acid. And that excess acid sometimes contributes to the corrosion of other effects that is going to happen around the walls of the stomach. And in the end, it is what is going to cause that abdominal discomfort. And secondly, when you eat and sleep, that posture, remember you're satisfied. That posture that you're going to assume when you're sleeping is going to sometimes influence that feeling of the food is coming back. Remember this food coming back in the stomach, katonda yatutonda nga mulimu acid. Acid akolebwamu ali normal kubanga alina kutabuuka. Naye wa shiftinga n'agenda mu kifo ky'atalina kugendamu oba mu pipe, food pipe etwala emmere mu lubuto. Weetandika okubeera nga experiencing acid oyo ava mu lubuto, maybe because you eat and sleep, you have excess acid production by maybe other reasons. The control that would prevent the acid from coming can no longer function, and now that the acid is coming, it will burn that food pipe and you tend to feel the heartburn. So owulira nti ezo conditions ziringa ssatu but all the time tuziyita ulcers, and that is not true. It is one thing leading to the other. The type of food that you're eating, the way you carry yourself after your food that you have eaten, that even may not be good, and all that contributes to that. So you see there's heartburn, there's that gastritis that comes from the food that we eat. And also this roadside food, because sometimes it's not hygienic. The people preparing the food may not be as hygienic as we want them to be. Most times they get the food contaminated with that germ. There's a germ that we normally test for. So whenever you go in Wagamba, but what are they trying to say? They are saying that we're going to check for a germ that would predispose you to getting gastric ulcer. And that germ, well, when you have it, for it, its disadvantage is that it feeds on the wall of your stomach. So even with your normal acid production, you would feel the pain, and that continuous feeding onto your stomach, feeding onto your stomach wall, and your acid acting onto those wounds is what is going to cause a wound called ulcers. So you realize by the time you get ulcers, there's a lot of there are a lot of things that have happened. A lot of things that have happened along the journey of nutrition. So that is also something I really wanted to stress out, because we tend to confuse all those things. So you realize if someone is really eating well, if someone is really eating on time, eating the right thing, and also having good behavior while they are eating, they would reduce the risk of having such conditions. And I also said that we should hydrate and deworm. Deworming, and yet we eat a lot of food along the way. Yeah, we should deworm at least 3 months. Eat a balanced diet, and then love yourself. Finally, love yourself, because all this, you cannot do all this if you don't love yourself and you don't wish yourself to be healthy. Maybe the last point that I would mention is that this would just go to the ladies, and of course to the men, to emphasize to their ladies that there are some vitamins that we recommend every at least young woman should alina okubeera with those stores, alina okubeera nga abifeedingako buli kaseera kubanga bimuyambako at one point or the other. every month we lose blood, and that makes us lose iron. Iron is a mineral that is important for your red cell production or your blood. So most of the ladies have iron deficiency because they don't take in enough iron as much as they are losing. And that is important to note. The foods rich in iron, liver, the green leafy vegetables, the fish, the eggs, some content there of some iron. And maybe if it is too bad, it may need the supplements that we have on market. Then another thing is folic acid and vitamin B12. Those ones still vegetables, guys. Greens, like you eat a whole plate of whatever it is with a spoon, half a spoon of dodo, nakati, of which avamusike. So all the nutrients have gone. We don't eat boiled greens, we don't eat katunkuma, those things are not fancy for us. And yet we miss out. So vitamin B12 and folic acid are important because at the time when you will be pregnant, when the time comes, in those first weeks, you will need those stores to be able to ensure that the baby's brain develops. And you see, when you're a lady, you contribute so much to what your baby will look like, especially in the first weeks of life. So your diet is very much important. It's very much important. It can change much when you start changing now and start liking the greens, start finding out how your iron stores are. Yeah, that will help you. So I have really tried to go through very fast, but I think I'm ready for questions now. Thank you. Back to you, Brother Jackson.
Okay, myself. Thank you so much for such a wonderful bit of us of lessons. Yeah, I've liked it. I'm sure I've liked it. Era ndowooza along way ng'osharinga nina ekibuuzo ekinzijidde era saagala nkyerabire kubanga sikinotinze down naye nkyakirina mu mutwe. Yeah, actually you are talking about eating, then after eating you sleep. Yeah, that it is somehow not good. Then a question came to my mind, whereby there are many times when you actually finish eating, immediately you feel sleep. Nga owulira otulo, owulira tolina n'amaanyi kwegamba olina osooka ne bw'obanga obadde okola, olina osooka weebakemu then ozuukuke after olyoke ogenda okole. Kati mu bwongo bw'omuntu kyangu kyakulowooza nti actually they were telling us sometimes maybe we've heard about metabolic rates, ebintu bya metabolism ebyo, ng'oluusi oba omubiri guba gwetaaga amaanyi amangi gulyoke gukole, I may call it metabolism or digestion, kwegamba nti gewandyonoonye mu kukola nga waakamala okulya ng'ate emmere balina ogidigestinga. Sooka weebake obeere nga ali idle nga tolina maanyi g'okolesa, then that energy would be utilized maybe for digestion and something which I may call metabolism. So, but my question is, then what is that bw'omala okulya n'owulira otulo? Is it the body that is demanding for a rest such that it can do digestion, or it is just category nti bw'omala okulya ne weebaka ate oyinza okuleeta ebizibu? So actually njagala differentiatingiremu condition eyo. Yeah, before actually I go into other questions. Yes, myself. Hello, Mr. Muting. Dr. Sheila.
Yes, please.
Yeah, did you get my question?
Yes, I did.
You did, eh?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I go one by one. Okay, well, when you eat, your body, of course, needs to break down that food. And that process, of course, would cause you to feel like you need to rest. But resting doesn't mean you sleep. And the reason why we are saying don't eat and sleep is because of course, the factors that I have explained of what exactly is going to happen when you don't utilize that energy that you have gotten. The food that you have eaten itself is the one that is going to generate the ATP, the energy that is going to, of course, facilitate the whole process of metabolism. So it's not that what you had earlier thought. And your resting is not in one way or the other generating that energy, but what the body is trying to communicate through the chemical reactions that are happening in your body is that let us digest, let us rest. It's a rest and digest kind of moment that your body is trying to settle in at that moment. And the reason, okay, what I wanted to drive to is that when we look at the meals of the day are supposed to be like your breakfast is supposed to be the heavy meal because it is setting you up for the day. And in your breakfast, of course, you have everything that you entail for strength, for energy, for good metabolism and digestion, the juices, the breakfast. Of course, will equally be with some energy giving food and also the vegetables, the protein, and as you hydrate along the way. And then we recommend that at least you would have 3 hours before you go to bed. And in that process, you sleep, like that statement that you made, I'm going to rest, that the body may generate the energy that it will use for metabolism. No, it is just that the body is communicating that you have given your body a lot of energy and it is now triggering, of course, some centers that are causing it to rest, to put it to rest, to generate out whatever it is getting. But in the process of all this, you should at least be doing something that is trying to spend this energy. Because if at any one moment you feel that you should always rest and you're sleeping as after eating that heavy meal, trust me, it would make you use more effort to generate energy from what has been stored than what is readily available. I don't know if I really if you get my point.
Yeah, I'm getting you, Mr. I'm getting you. Okay. Wow, thank you so much. I want kategedde bulungi. Kati musawo obadde oyogera ku the kinds, maybe the kinds of food. Actually, mu ka audio ka nutrition kyetwasindika ku word of wisdom, waliwo watuuka n'oyogera actually on this normal daily food that the singles and actually most especially boys bawala batono nnyo abatera okulya chapati, rolex, newankubadde nabo oluusi babirya naye actually it is mostly to us the guys. Then my question would be, how are we going to balance this? Because you realize these are the available, or I may say most available foods that we have, both readily available and even financially. Financially, they are somehow friendly to us. Kati, my question would be, ngenze nentunuliramu ku mmere ku bintu by'obadde osporting ebina iron ebina proteins ojja kwesanga nti ebimu bya bbeeyi mulimu ebyennyanja nkoko kati baganda baffe abawala monthly they actually give out blood naye okukomyawo nutrients ezo mulimu nkoko biki kati ogenda okwesanga nga maybe pocket white ng'oluusi we are not so much supported mu bintu bya ssente. Now the question would be waliyo koko emmere ng'ekisooka eri readily available ng'osobola oginoonya n'ogifuna olwo ebintu nga bya layisi naye nga okinoonya si kyangu nga tekiriiwo oba bisanga mu kyalo eyo biki naye katugereze wano ku mbeera yaffe oli Kampala. Are there those first of all low price naye nga they can give us the same
and
diet?
I understand how
Yes, musawo tikyakuwulira simanyi banza avuddeko. Musawo sikuwulira. I don't know whether it is my network or everyone, but I'm not hearing anything. Eba network y'emusazeeko. It seems ebadde network wamu. Okay, naye kyemmanyi ajja kuba dda akomawo. Lwakuba ebibuuzo sibalaba nga bwe muwanika mikono sibategeere. Mbitegedde. Anyway, Nenga, this is actually an important point to note, like about nutrition. Nutrition tumwetaaga era ndowooza abatanafuna opportunity ey'okugenda okuwulira audio ye. It is actually a very good audio. Bw'ogiwuliriza n'ogimala it is 35 minutes. Nze nagiwuliriza naye actually neneekuba mu mutima ne ngamba ekituufu kiri I've been cheating myself. One way you can actually easily cheat yourself is not eating well. Kati the challenge is nti ebiseera ebisinga gye tusinga oteekamu ssente okulya ate bye bisinga okwonoona dayate yaffe. Kyengenze nzuula nti bye tulowooza tulidde bulungi weetaddemu ssente kumbe weekotoggedde. So actually it needs lessons to actually have this note or okubeera nga tulina points zino okuzinootinga. Kyetaaga obeeko lessons z'ofuna mu bantu abakugu. Yeah, I was so much blessed by the sharing that she gave us. Zankoze bulungi nnyo. Kuba siraabwakomawo mbadde nkyalina ebibuuzo byange mbadde njagala omubuuza. Basingo. Kangende mu Kimeko ndabe oba ayinza kuba network. Kansabe Papala nagira tutwalamuko katono nga bwe nnoonya network ye okumutereereza. Papala nsimanyi oba wooli osobola okwogera naffe.
Kama yebaziwe.
Amina papa.
Naye nga obuzibu. Simanyi we yatandikidde, simanyi waakomye, mbadde siri keen nnyo okufollowinga we mbadde.
Naye nga just ayogera ku nutrition actually generally. Endya yaffe nga basingo. Endya yaffe. Musawo okomyewo naye tuba twadde tukuluuzinze.
Brother Jackson, I'm back. I had gone off.
Yes. Twabadde ku kibuuzo.
I had gone off. I'm sorry.
Okubalansinga emmere nga tetufulumizza nnyo naye tukakase nti tulidde ekintu ekibalansinze.
When come here, I just want to finish what I was saying.
Then I think I can hand over to Alan. I think he was communicating something. So initially mbadde ngamba nti to let us be realistic. I understand what you are communicating, that yes, esente ezigenda okukozesebwa for someone to have the other diet as compared to esente ezigenda okukozesebwa someone to have a balanced diet as compared to someone having the convenient food. And then I said katika tubalemu, because nade nange nchirowoozaako that if we are really saying that someone should have such and such a meal, what would it cost them? If you're going to count that olunaku, let me say you are one of your meals in the day is going to have, let me say, a Rolex of Rolex, yeah, bidi bitano kali. That is, I guess, 2 eggs. I no longer know how much, but I think it's 2 eggs and 2 chapatis. Whether it's bidi bitano or bidi, depending on the size, because I think chapatis are now at 1K. Those that really would satisfy you. So if this is 2.5 and you're going to have a drink of soda is 1K, or Ona is 2.5, eh? Or water is now 500. Yeah, so 2.5 and 500, that is 3K. If it is soda, it would be 3.5 or 6K actually. So when you look at this money and you go to a place where they actually cook real food, real food, I mean matoke rice, the cheapest now should be around 4,000, if not 3,000, for you to at least get two of the, let me say, matoke or rice, and then a sauce. And just imagine if you started with 1 meal a day and say that one of the meals that I'm going to have a day, that is if you have more than 1 meal a day, because you may be having 1 meal a day. But what I'm saying is, if you're having more than 1 meal a day, what if you start by changing this meal that consumes more than 4,000 and transforming the Rolex with a drink, or the Rolex with sometimes even snack coin between there, and you really don't count it as a snack. But if you feel hungry, and that is also, it's also kind of the same family. If you start with that 1 meal a day that costs more than 4,000 and transformed it to a 3,000 plate, do you think it's a better way to start? And then I understand that most of us as single people, we don't cook, especially the men. So it is a little hard for you to get vegetables in the quantities that you want from these places. But sometimes when you communicate to these people, they understand that for you, you're a greens person. So these things require being deliberate. That is number one. Number two, they require you loving yourself so much to the point that your decisions really entail, you think about your health before every decision that you make concerning your nutrition. And as much as you would realize in the long run, it is easy to stock things that would be convenient, you will also learn to realize that it is easy and it is possible to get dodo every time. Now kumala with let me say something that is a carbohydrate. Yes. So if you don't start now, it is going to be hard for you to influence even your children in that direction, by the way. And we are also looking at the future. Yeah. So I'm trying to paint for us a picture of, let us also be open-minded and look at things in a broader way. I understand that you can also get a meal. I don't know if it's still there. By the time we were at campus, Chukumi meals were as low as 500. So I don't know if it's still the case. But what I'm trying to say that you can start from somewhere. It doesn't mean that from today on, don't do this. No, it's kind of not feasible. It's a process. It's a journey. It's like when you get saved, when you get saved, all these things start getting corrected slowly by slowly. So also the journey of your salvation in nutrition is not something that is going to be abrupt and from today onwards. Yes, it can happen, by the way. From today onwards, I won't do this. But I believe for something that is sustainable, that requires discipline and consistency, will really start small and it grows to at least all your meals starting to be balanced. So you should not have that worry of what am I going to eat today, but being intentional about it, sitting down and actually planning your money in that direction of saying, yes, as much as how much do I spend on my meals and how can I better what I am eating? I think that is more feasible. Yeah. Back to you, Jackson.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for that insight. Then, because waliwo ekibuuzo kiri mu chat, muganda waffe mwakisindise ku Zoom kwennyini. Yeah, it is a question from Dennis Samuel Balejusa. And he's saying that, thanks, doctor, for the insight. I would request you to help me with an example of a nutritious from breakfast, lunch, and supper. Ndoza ayagala mutematemera breakfast nutritious oba emmere eri nutritious according to breakfast we Uganda biki be yandiridde, supper then ne lunch. Yeah. Musawo oyo omuyambi oti.
Okay. Kali, when we look at breakfast, by the time they say the word breakfast, it means you're breaking the fast that you have had in the night. And that could be 8 hours long or more. And when you're looking at breakfast, this is the main meal of the day because it's going to start you up in the day. And sometimes it's going to determine how often you're going to have meals along the way, depending on the kind of work that you do. So breakfast is always balanced, as much as also the others. But breakfast, Uganda, kind of started limiting my thoughts to what can we afford. But what I'm saying is, wobolya breakfast yo, kati nze kankubuulire ekituufu, go onaalaba ky'onookola. Breakfast yo erina okubeeramu, for example, milk, porridge of all kinds. Porridge can range all the way from millet, it can go to maize, soya, all that is good porridge, milk. Tea, black tea, obuzibu bwe nnina ku tea is that tea itself, gamajani gaina content yago, eremesa the absorption of vitamin C. So tea in itself is not that good. The black tea of majani is not good. Coffee also has its own effects, given that it has some caffeine in it. However much it may help you be awake, but it's not good for continuous use. So realize we are healthy-wise limiting ourselves to, let me say, having milk and all those things that I've not mentioned that are good in terms of porridge, because there are very many now available kinds of porridge on the market, rice porridge, what? Okay, but what is affordable can be maize, can be milk is also quite affordable, and millet in the long run if you're buying in bulk. And then escort. Now here it ranges all the way from what you can afford to what is available. If Katogo is what is available for you, it is good to start the day. If you're going to have, let me say, an egg, which is now containing protein,
The beauty about Katogo is that you're having some starch in there, plus whatever you're taking as sauce could be nuts or meat. But then it can also be that you're going to have, let me say, an egg, and let me say some good bread to go with it. And then, of course, there's a type of bread that we recommend, given that it's also wheat. They recommend that at least you have, there's a kind of bread that's the high fiber, but it's quite pricey. But you can have the porridge plus the escort. That should also be, let me say, an egg, and let me say maybe a slice of cassava, and then a glass of juice. That can start you off the day. If it is maybe say the porridge and Katogo and a glass of juice, that is still fine. And not forgetting your vegetables somewhere. That is ideally, basically balanced for breakfast. For lunch, remember we said when we're looking at your plate, how much of the carbohydrate, energy giving food. When we take in a lot of it, it is what is going to be stored as fat. So energy giving food telina at least kusuka bibatu bibiri fists biri nti olaba nti ntaddeko akawunga si kangi nnyo to the level that it's half of the plate or 3/4 of the plate. That would be too much energy for you compared to what you're going to use. Ideally, you're going to sit in class. So that is how that's how your body is going to communicate to you that you're giving us too much to work on. So if you're only going to have enough, and then you say you're having your could be portion and rice in terms of what we talked about. We talked Kalo, Irish, but you realize there are some people who go again mere yona. So mere yona means they'll give you matoke, they'll give you cassava, they'll give you sweet potato, they'll give you rice, they'll give you portion, they'll give you Kalo, they'll give you a piece of Irish, and then they'll give you beans. So why don't you sleep, Riyad? So, but what is better is at least having 2 fistfuls of whatever carbohydrate you're going to have. The protein, which is the source, can range all the way from beans to anything else that you can afford. And then the vegetables, guys, vegetables. Like chitandike kati okubeera mu mind yo buli wogenda ordering emmere balina greens. It's beautiful when you're with when you hear people asking mwafumbye greens chile, but people rare actually answer so greens wasn't jabieri. They're like, really? You're the one missing out. So greens, guys, should have a portion on your plate. Your lunch plate. Your lunch plate has that carbohydrate that is not really so massive. It has your protein, it has your vegetable. That is basic enough. And then you can have a glass of juice or even water along the way. And then dinner. Remember we said, oregulo, you're winding down. Like you're not going to have that much energy and you're not going to need it. If you could actually start training your body to tend towards running away from eating too much or eating too late or eating in the night, it will help you. And eat more filling foods. There are filling foods that ideally make you feel full when you've not actually eaten or taken in a lot of energy-giving foods. And the filling foods are more vegetables and fruits and the like. Yeah. So that is how I would summarize it. Back to you.
Okay, musawo tweyanziza. Musawo tweyanziza nnyo ekibuuzo ekyo kizeemu bulungi nnyo. Naye nga waliwo ekibuuzo ekirala ekibindabinda mu chat mpiseeyoko. Waliwo mwanyinnaffe nga sinnagenda ku Lilian, waliwo mwanyinnaffe abuuza nti agezezzaako okulya buli kika ky'emmere nga yayagala ggejja. Naye kirabika amaanyi gagenze gamuggwaamu. simanyi oba waliyo emmere endala gy'osobola omusongerako nga ye bw'agirya bw'ati atandikirawo. Nsi ekibuuzo kyekyo.
Atandikirawo kukola ki?
Okugejja. Okugejja.
Buli kika kya mmere, just help me re-echo that question.
Actually, question ye alina ekibuuzo ekigamba nti agezezaako okulya emmere naye tagejja, ye alaba tagejja. Waliyo ebika by'emmere ebyo osobola omusongerako, ebirala asooka abyesonyiwa alya ebyo.
Kakati ekyo twakyogeddeko wali eri ne tugamba nti actually requesting for the next singles singles conference or any other meeting. It's good for us to know our weight and height, because before you start judging yourself that sigeja, are you really not togeja, or it is just in your mind that there's a certain way you want to look that you're not looking? Because when it comes to us ladies, sometimes there's a certain way you really want to look, and maybe because the way your hormones are going to work and the way you're eating are not going to contribute towards that body. And you have to understand that you are maybe normal weight, underweight, or overweight, and this is how you're supposed to adjust. So when we realize that you are truly underweight, we have to rule out any other factors that would be contributing to this not gaining weight. So when there are no other factors, you're not having any other underlying condition, because it's not just a matter of food. There also may be other underlying conditions that make you not to gain weight, that actually even can influence other things in your life that we can maybe relate to. Because she's like this, it can also affect her fertility. But what am I saying is, tusookera wali wa calculation eri ginayiseemu ne mbaga nti tusooka ne tumanya your body mass index for your weight and for your height. Is that weight appropriate? Because amaaso go gayinza okuba galaba kirala, ffe nga tulaba kirala. And then ekyokubiri, are we having any other underlying condition that is stopping you from gaining weight apart from that? If it is not there, then what are you eating? Because there are also programs that can help you gain weight. Because ideally what we are fighting the other side is having a lot of energy stores, because those energy is stored as fat. So now for you, it would be the opposite of you changing your diet into that direction. However, staying healthy, but having that normal weight. So it's olabira ddala nti tewali standard. It really works around you as an individual, finding out everything that we need to know about you that we can't know from just a chart. That we really have to interact with you. Sometimes the truth of the matter is, for abachala, tubako engeri gye twagala okulabika, whether it's in terms of losing weight or gaining weight. Actually, sometimes we want to gain weight in particular areas. Because of how beauty has been phrased in our generation. So it is important that we know that there's genetics that can come into play. There are underlying conditions that can come into play. But before even looking at that, there's a lot behind the scenes. Yeah.
Okay. Weyanziza musawo kyemanya ategedde bulungi. Kale katwanize Lilian Nabulima alina ekibuuzo, ndaba omukono gwe guli waggulu. Lilian, ekibuuzo kyo, obudde waffe busemberedde.
Amina, Mukama yeebazibwe. Musawo tweyanziza nnyo. Nze nina ekibuuzo kye mbuuza musawo. Does the different blood types affect the food choice? Because waliwo w'osoma n'olaba nti this particular blood group talina kulya kino, talina kulya kiri. And another thing is, oyogedde ku breakfast n'ogamba muyina okubeeramu amata. Kati, for example, you have a lactose intolerance. Can I ngisobola gikyusa nenkozesa the plant-based milk like almond milk, coconut milk, soy milk, or white specifically dairy. It has to be the dairy product. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. Those are two good questions. Starting from the last one, yes, you actually answered yourself. I gave milk as an example. What I gave were not standard, they were examples. So yes, you can substitute for each of the things that I mentioned, as long as you are fitting the nutrient that we're actually benefiting from it. And you realize for the things you've mentioned, they are more nutritious, they have a more nutritive value as compared to the rest. Yeah, because you could be having lactose intolerance. It doesn't mean you stick to milk. Yes, so to the second one. There are quite a number of studies that have been done. I think there's even a gentleman who did the research in Uganda concerning the blood group issue and food. However, in my own opinion, I would not go for that because there are very many loopholes in that study that I won't go through right now. But what I'm saying is that, in my opinion, everyone, as long as you are not allergic to a certain food, as long as you're not having reactions to a certain food, because as much as we've mentioned all these foods, you realize there are people who are lactose intolerant, realize there are people who don't eat nuts. You realize there are also people who don't eat meat, don't eat fish, they don't eat eggs. They could even be on this platform and they don't eat those certain things. And it's not even because of their blood group, because you realize they could be blood group AB and someone else is with AB and they can eat eggs and nothing happens. So realize there are loopholes in that study, in that research. So therefore, however much it is there, it does not influence us, especially now in our setting, in our setting, it would really be limiting someone to be limited by their blood group. Because what if your blood group suggests that you only eat liver? Will you be affording it? So given that there are loopholes in that study, it was concluded that let people eat things they can actually afford, that are available to them, as long as they get the nutritive value out of those foods, as long as they're available to them and beneficial to them, and as long as they're not allergic to those foods, or eating those foods does not cause any other harm that is physical and visible to their bodies. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Tweyanziza musawo. Thank you so much. Kyenzikiriza mumuzeemu bulungi nnyo. Nange kennyini mbitegedde. Kale. Birungi Grace naye omukono gwe guli waggulu. Atwanirize ekibuuzo kyo mangu. Then tusigazeyo Blessed Prayer naye atuwe ebibuuzo bye. Then we shall wind up. Birungi.
Yes, praise God.
Amen.
So nze ekibuuzo kyange kiri nti, why some people eat boiled eggs ne beebajjagula omukka omubi nga gubavaamu, kubanga twaliko nga tulina ekifo kye twalimu, oli nga yeebajjaggala nga like avaamu omukka mubi, kati abantu ne batandika okwogera mbu alidde boiled eggs. Is it because it's not good for their health? Kati nze ekyo nange kyambuzabuzaamu ne mbuuza why should people eat boiled eggs ne bajjamu that smell? So that's my question. That's my point.
Okay. In the breakdown or in the component or the composition of an egg is I don't know how to mention it, but in the breakdown of the egg, they're trying to digest it as it's trying to mix up with the food juices and stuff like that. Wabayo products eziri formed ng'ovudde ne kumuka ogusobola ova mu kamwa n'oguva emabega gusobola okuba nga teguwunya bulungi because of what happens as a byproduct of the digestion of it. So siga nti amagi mabi naye we gaba gali digested ebisobola okugavaamu byebyo. Okwebajjagala kusobola okubaawo nga n'omuntu talidde magi. Sometimes that gas has to come out, whether it's coming from the back or it's coming from the front. Of course, it being excessive is not a good thing. However, the gas has to come out. But for eggs particularly, component yazo kiva mu go nga gw'amagi nti go galimu eyo component yayo that I may not describe in chemical details, but it is in the digestion of the egg nga bagimenyaamenya ebisobola ovaamu bye bireeta that ekyo kitali kya bulijjo. And sometimes it's even associated with proteins. Maybe someone may notice that wali are those protein high rich food rich in proteins, but it okufuna nise okwebajjagala very smelly or passing out gas that is smelly. It's just because of the breakdown that associated with byproducts that are like that. So what helps to counteract this is vegetables, by the way, and juices to help with the breath and excretion. Yes, Jackson.
Okay. Yeah, tweyanziza musawo tweyanzege. Thank you so much. Wasigadde ekibuuzo kya Blessed Prayer. Blessed Prayer buuza ekibuuzo kyo.
Yes, yeebazibwe. Musawo tweyanziza. Nze nyina ekibuuzo kyange. It always happens to me. Njagala nnyo amata. Naye here comes a problem. Amata agali plain gaba gannuma mu lubuto. Naye ate we ngafumbiranga mu buugi mba sifuna obuzibu. Kati nineebuuza ekizibu lwaki ate agali plain go ne gannuma mu lubuto. Naye ate bwe nkateeka mu buugi go tegabeera na buzibu. Kyekyo musawo.
Amata?
Ye.
Siwulidde bulungi.
Ekibuuzo kiri nti musawo mpulira. Ekibuuzo kiri nti kiri kunze bwe mba nywa amata agali plain gannuma mu lubuto. Naye ate bwe ngafumba mu porridge tegankola ku kantu konna. Naye kasita nga nywa gagali plain nze yeemanyi gannuma mu lubuto niganfulumya nigakola kyonna kye gaagala oba nigasobola nakunsesemya bwe bityo. Kati nineebuuza lwaki plain milk gaba gasobola kunkola bwe gatyo kyokka bwe banga ntadde mu buugi tegankosa kintu kyonna.
Musawo tetukuwulira kirabika. Okay. Tukuwulira
nti kye babeera bafunye nga badigesting.
So network emuggyeko. Simanyi oba nze abadde awulira nga bikuka kuba mwenna. Naye kirabika it was her network emuggyeko, and I'm not sure whether she will be able to come back. I don't know. Reka nsubire ebibuuzo byaffe biweddeyo. Yeah. Mpozi ekyamata oba nja kuwa enamba. You can actually reach her inbox, then osobola okuyambibwa. Yeah, nja kuwa enamba ye Blessed Prayer. Najikutera mu inbox yo. You can send her a message and she will actually give you her feedback. because I'm seeing as if obudde butugenzeeko and I don't know whether she'll be able to make it back on the call. Naye nga bwe tumaliriza twagala okwebaza Katonda olwa session eno gye tumaliriza. Wow. Nti at least I think mu mwezi guno oguwedde tubaddeko ne medical issues ze tukutteko as singles. Era I think we've been blessed from the time that we finished our singles clinic. We have actually been so much giving emphasis in the medical areas. Era nzikiza tuweerebbwa omukisa. Yeah. Basawo nti tujja kubeera nga tukwata nga singles ministry, tujja kubeera nga tukwata mu areas ezimu nga tusooka nga tuzibeeramuko such that tubeere nga we are diverse. We are diverse nga tuyiga ebintu nga tugendako ebuziba, tubeerako ebintu bye tumanyi nga basingo. Sikubeera kumanya bumanya, tukwana tutya, bikyate bikitamu tutya. Ya naye nga tubaako n'ebintu ebyenjawulo bye tutegeera mu saako z'obulamu bwaffe. Ya nagenda otegeera nti actually nali ntunuulira areas ezikyasinze otuleetera obuzibu, either nga tukyali mu bwa single relationships oba nga tugenze ne mu marriage. These are some of the issues that somehow terminate our relationships or even zituleetera obuzibu mu bufumbo. Yeah, most especially the health issues, ebintu engeri gye tukwasaganyamu obulamu bwaffe. These are some of the dangers that we bring to our own selves or to our own lives. Naye nga twebaza Katonda nti Katonda atuwadde abantu abasobola okwogera mu bulamu bwaffe ne babaako bye batuyigiriza. Kyemanyi leero tuyizaayizeemu oba tuyize engeri gye tugenda okwesootinga mu kulya, ebintu bye tugenda okulya. Yadde ayogera ku byokunywa. Actually nadde njala namubuuza ekibuuzo ekyokunywa, ebyokunywa byakunywa ki bye tutera okunywa. Waliwo gaye yaŋŋamba, nalindi eyo Samuel n'aŋŋamba nti bw'onywa eccupa emu eya soda eba ekubanja, oba yaŋŋamba litaazi mmeka ez'amazzi oba bidomola 2 ninga kika Katonda wange. Ccupa emu eya soda ekubanja oba ebidomola oba kidomola kimu 20 liters oba 2 eby'amazzi, okubeera nga you are going to neutralize the chemicals kugamba nentya ningamba ebintu ebimu kituufu biwooma naye nga we actually taking poison. We are taking poison. Ate these are the things that we are finding. Obeera okyali mwana muto, myaka gikyali wansi, and you start developing endwadde nga tekituufu kiri mu bajjajja baffe z'abakwatiranga mu myaka egy'obukulu. Now we are finding these same diseases that are attacking us nga tukyali myaka emito. So we need to start caring about our health. We need to start caring about our health. Kiruma nnyo okubeera nga wakazaala abaana abaami n'obaleka nga bakyali bato. No wonder we are having many children that are fatherless and motherless, nga tebalina bazadde, nga si kubanga nti babatta busi, naye birwadde munnange, birwadde biraawo n'okwatibwa omutima, n'okwatibwa birwadde bitategerekeka. Ebimu biviira ddala eno engeri gye tulyamu, the way we feed. Yeah, naye nga twagala okwebaza Katonda nti atukavarinze in all the areas. Kyebaliza Mukama. Thank you so much. Mwebale kubeerawo. Ababuuziza ebibuuzo, abawuliriza, thank you so much. Mukama abawe omukisa. Bwe kinaaba kyetaagise tuyinza okudda naye next Saturday or tuleeteyo omuntu omulala, or we come back with now a different area eyokukwatako. Nali mpulaninga kuleeta mu kkojja maaso awo abeeko nga nina ensonga zange ze njagala atuyisizeewo ng'abasingles. Kkojja Joel Musinguzi. Era ndowooza nga si wala nnyo, we shall actually have him back. Naye nga twagala okwebaza Katonda. Thank you so much for joining. Mukama abawe omukisa. Enkya tulina youth service ssaawa 9 paka ku ssaawa 1. Tulinayo ne evangelism nga abavubuka tugenda every after first service ne tugenda, then we come back just immediately after third service as we wait for our youth service to begin. Then 26 mwenna bali mu Uganda n'abano atera okukomawo kasita abanga August 26 genda kusanga mu Uganda tukwanirizo gye tugende mu family day out. Tugenda simbula 12 ku luno tuli serious, tetwogera bya kuwoomereza. We are so serious. 12 basi zigenda sulawo twafunye dda ne parking. Ku luno tuli serious bannange, temulowooza nti tugenda dda mu katemba. We are so serious. 12 chai wotuukira ku site chai abeerawo ku venue, so tubaaniriza naye kye tusinga okubasaba musasule nga bukyali bambi for better preparations. Musasule nga bukyali naye ne bwe tusobodde zifuna wonna bw'ozifunira you are free to pay. We've catered for everything. So mwanirizibwa mujje tugende tunyumirwe. If you haven't yet gotten a family, you can just go to the family office, they will give you a family. Yeah, mwebale. Thank you so much. Kale katusabe tumalirize. Tata twagala okwebaza, oli Katonda omulungi, oli Katonda ow'amaanyi. Tukwebaza olw'akaseera k'otuwadde nga basingo. Obadde mulungi Yesu. Ebigambo byonna bye tufunye bibadde bigambo birungi, kubanga bibadde biketaringa endya yaffe, engeri gye tugenda otambuzaamu obulamu bwaffe n'okwerabirira. Tukwebaza olw'amagezi g'otuwa, Ayi Kabaka wa bakabaka. Nsaba otuwe ekisa Taata, tubiteeke mu nkola, kubanga waliwo bye tulina okulya naye nga tetunnafuna busobozi. Oli Katonda agabirira. Bayibuli egamba ffeeza ne zaabu biri mu ngalo zo, era ensi n'okujjula kwayo byonna bibyo. Nsaba otugabirire Taata okubeera nga tusobola okwefaako, nga twerabirira, nga tuli ebyo byennyini bye tulina okulya ng'abaana bo. Taata tuyambe tugabirire mu all spheres of life. Nsaba otuwe omukisa. Nsaba omukisa omuntu oyo yenna awaddeyo obudde bwe n'abeerawo, n'oyo eyaakavaawo. Taata muwe omukisa. Nsaba owe omukisa omusawo waffe newankubadde avuddewo, n'ebigambo by'atubuulidde bibadde bigambo birungi. Nsaba omuwe omukisa Ayi Kabaka wa bakabaka. Sisinkana okwetaaga kwe okw'omwoyo n'okw'omubiri. Weebale Yesu, weebale Ayi Kabaka wa bakabaka. Nsaba obukuumi ku buli singo yenna. Nsaba omukuume Taata, mukuume era sisinkana okwetaaga kwe paka lwe tunaddamu okusisinkana olw'omukaaga. Nsaba otukuume era twesange nga tukyali balamu era nga tukyali bulungi ate nga tukyakkiriza Kristo ng'omulokozi waffe. Weebale Yesu, weebale Ayi Kabaka wa bakabaka. Byonna tubisabe kuyita mu Kristo Mukama waffe. Amiina. Kale musawo waffe abadde akomye. Musawo tubadde actually tusabye ne saala esembe nga tulowooza tugenda kukomawo, naye ndowooza tuweeyo ebigambo ebisembayo tumalirize. I think we shall have even next Saturday. Yeah, because people have remained with questions and we even have the other part of the mental health that we need to go deeper in. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jackson. By the time I went off, I was trying to reply blessed prayer. And yeah, because kyabadde ayogerako kyekyagala okufaanana ng'oli abeera lactose intolerant, lwako of course ye ebeera mu mild form, naye kyolina okukola in summary amata ageesonyiwe nga gali plain oba okizudde nti gakuwa obuzibu, kubanga kiba kitegeeza nti omubiri guganya okugakolako mu bulungi okusobola okufunamu obulungi bwago. So naye w'ogamixinga muli olw'okuba nti omubiri tegugenda kubanga gwinterfacinga n'amata direct, kiyinza okugwanguyira okufunamu kye gandifunyeemu mu ngeri emu oba endala. So thank you so much, Jackson, and your team. I think I was contacted by Brother Alan Rutaganda, and thank you all for this platform. I'm really blessed, and I am glad that we have people in this generation that are passionate about health. Kubanga kiri very important. Abantu abamu babisuuliddeyo gwe nagamba ebintu ebimu birabika ng'eby'abazungu. Naye, no. This information has been given to us to benefit us, and the beauty of nature that God has given us to even be to dominate over is also still to benefit us. So
we pray that as the prayer was, that God may help us and provide for us, that at the end of it all, we may live a healthy lifestyle, because you and me have to serve God, and we have to be part of mentoring and raising the next generation. Generation eddako erina okuba nga ekuziddwa ate ng'eri mentored by us. So we can't afford to be on our deathbeds. We can't afford to be sick. We can't even stand. We can't even mentor people physically. No, we have to also be a generation that cares about our health and is really relevant to the people to come. But this, an important thing to note, this does not mean that you should not fast. When we talk about nutrition, it doesn't mean that you should eat and not fast. No. It is important that fasting is also good, by the way, for health. There are health benefits of fasting. We've not looked at them, but there are also health benefits of fasting, as well as the spiritual benefits. So it is very important that we fast as long as you're led by the Spirit of God to fast, and yeah, all will be well. I believe we shall be able to benefit ourselves and the people to come. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you so much. Mukama akutuwera omukisa musawo asisinkana okwetaagako kwonna okw'omwoyo n'okw'omubiri. Amen. Wow, we shall have you next time. Otukoze bulungi nnyo. Katonda akwongerere ddala amagezi, akufuulire ddala ow'enjawulo. Omusawo Katonda gw'akenda okweroboza okukozesa mulembe gwaffe. Wow, we have been so much blessed. May the Lord God bless you so much. Kale, ngenda basaba twanmutinge, twatule ebigambo by'ekisa nga tuva ku call. Yeah, if you can unmute. Okay. Ekisa kya Mukama waffe Yesu Kristo,
Okwagala kwa Katonda
mirembe gikwawo sule bulungi, mwebale kubeera
bulungi musawo Mukama